What's going on, everybody? I'm Primal Liquid and welcome back to my 100% perfect playthrough for Final Fantasy X. We are on part number 31 right now. And, well, it is time for the monster arena, guys. Now, in the last video, we obviously, we did go along creating some armors and things like that. And, well, I also posed a question to you guys. I wanted you guys to choose my party for the remainder of the game. And, you know, some of the choices actually, they took me by surprise. They did take me a little by surprise, I'm not gonna lie. But in the end, I have just spent, well, okay, I have not just spent because once again, I'm having to record this commentary after the fact, but I'll touch on more of that why later. But earlier on, I spent about 10-15 minutes going through all the comments and counting it up, and, well, you guys took me by surprise. Oren was one of the most requested, and for the second one, it was Riku. Now, Riku I can slightly understand, but Oren was probably the big one, you know? Like, I'm slightly surprised that people wanted Oren. Although Kimari was a very, very close third, guys. He only lost out by 2 votes. Just 2 votes. Okay, so with that, obviously my party now for the rest of the game is going to be Yuna, Oren, and Riku. Maybe I'll switch in the others every now and again. Obviously, I do still have to get the overdrives with Kimari and that, so he is going to get a little love, you know. He will get some love later on. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the monster arena and the process, shall we? So, if you didn't know, the monster arena is basically a case of you capture 10 of every monster and it will sort of create a bunch of monsters. But then after you actually do all of the species and area conquest monsters, so once you've beaten them all, you will actually unlock another original monster. Oh, sorry, you have to beat all original monsters as well. Once you've beat all 3 sets, though, you will unlock the final monster, which is going to be Nemesis. Now, if you don't know, Nemesis has 10 million health, which is exactly the same as Penance. However, there are a few small differences between the 2 fights. For example, when you fight Penance, you have to fight both of his arms as well, which means obviously your total damage is going to be done much, much slower because you're constantly having to divert your attention over to the arms as well. Whereas Nemesis, you don't have to do that. You can focus all of your damage on Nemesis himself. Which means, well, it's going to go that little bit faster overall because obviously, you know, all your damage is going on him. However, there is actually a little change that not many people are aware of, but I'll go ahead and mention it anyway. So, way back on the original PS2 version of the game, you could actually sort of cheese Nemesis. You could continually quick it, and then whenever Nemesis was about to get a turn, you could actually just use Yuna and summon an Aeon, basically. Now, the reason why that's not really worthwhile anymore is actually because of Quick Hit. So if you don't know, Quick Hit basically reduces the delay between turns, so you effectively get turns even faster than normal. Way back on the original, that was way overpowered, like it was super broken basically. Now, in the HD remaster, however, they actually toned down just how much of a delay it actually reduces by, which means you don't get as many turns using Quick Hit now. Now, because of this, however, that means the typical strategy has changed as well. So, what I'm actually going to be doing for Nemesis is I'm going to be slightly changing it up and actually just using Auto Life. The reason for that is Nemesis has an attack called Armageddon. And Armageddon, like, it cannot be mitigated and it cannot be shielded against. So that attack will always do 99,999 damage. There is no getting around that. It will always deal full damage, which means there's no way I can possibly survive it. Whatever's out is going to die, whether that's my party or an Aeon. Now, I could still go ahead and use an Aeon to block it, but that would basically result in losing quick hits and things like that. And, well, it's just easier just to use auto life, basically. So what I pretty much do is I'm just going to set up auto life and then like continuously quick hit. Once my characters die, you know, I'll get them back up thanks to auto life, and then I'll just put auto life back on them and carry on quick hitting. That's kind of how you can sort of just cheese Nemesis. It's like he does have a few other attacks, you know what I mean? He does have one that inflicts a whole bunch of statuses, but I have Ribbon, so I don't need to worry about that. I mean, it will still inflict... Oh my god, I can't get my words out. It will still infect me with Power Break and Curse, but even with Power Break, I still do max damage anyway, just because of how high my stats are, and obviously I have max luck, so everything turns into a critical hit anyway. So I don't need to worry about that, and Curse is obviously pretty much just related to Overdrive, so I really don't need to care about that either. So that's why Nemesis is an incredibly easy fight. It is a little bit drawn out just due to his high health pool, but thankfully, you know, I mean, ×4 speed, you know, because I play on the PC version, and then the ×8 speed booster, well, not the booster, the ×8 speed mod from like the Untitled Project X, it pretty much turns the fight into, well, originally it would take about 30 minutes, but thanks to these it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes, you know, it's not that long. And in fact, you know what? Here we have Knee Slug, and I just want to point out that Knee Slug is actually the only unique enemy in the entire monster arena. This is the only unique model throughout the entire monster arena. All other models are basically just like reskins or recolors of existing models. This is the only one that is new to the monster arena. It is not found anywhere else in the entire game either. Now, obviously it is in FF10 too, but it's just not in FF10 other than the monster arena. And obviously you can see here, like, I'm derping out so hard, like, I could not remember how I was meant to damage it until I finally cottoned on, wait a minute, maybe it's magic that I need to use. And then I just sort of blast it with Ultima. But yeah, this was a dumbed down moment, this was a real dumbed down moment from me. Anyway, I know I mentioned it earlier, so let's touch on why I'm having to do this commentary after the fact instead of doing it live. Well, that's because it is actually currently 1:45 right now. That's PM, not AM. So let me put it this way, I've been trying to record this video since about 5 AM this morning. Now, that's quite a bit of a distance there, isn't there? The big thing is, I've been having a lot of tech issues, and I've not actually managed to narrow down to what it actually is. Now, originally I thought, like, maybe it's my SSD failing, which, you know, I mean, I was having, like, major slowdown issues, things not loading, not being able to run the game, and things like that. But it's only some games that aren't loading, some of us are loading just fine. And the slowdown, obviously, well, like with it being my my boot drive, that's why I'm starting to think like maybe my SSD is failing. But then I ended up running Crystal Disk on it. If you didn't know, Crystal Disk is basically a way to like monitor hard drives and SSDs, check the health, check the speeds, and all things like that. But in the end, I ended up running that, and I mean, according to that, my boot drive is 100% healthy. You know, it's not overheating, it's not too cold, the connection's fine. But in the end, I did go ahead and I've backed up all my data anyway, just off my boot drive, like just in case it does die. And I mean, even just looking at the transfer speeds, like it seems fine. But in the end, I didn't actually manage to open the game until about 12:30. So it took me about 6 to 7 hours of just like constant troubleshooting to get the game to even open. And in the end, like, I tried so many things to fix it, guys. Like, I tried a different SATA port on the motherboard. I've tried a different SATA cable. I've tried a different power cable. It's like, I have tried everything, and it's like I've restarted countless times and just nothing was fixing it at all. It's like I've tried booting into safe mode, still getting pretty much the same issues, you know, like quite slow and sluggish and things like that. But eventually, like, I ended up just shutting down, turning it back on, and lo and behold, well, I mean, it was a little slow at first, but it started working fine again after, you know, about 5 minutes. So I have absolutely no idea what is going on with it. I'll probably run a mem test later, check the RAM. I should probably order a power supply checker actually, just make sure there's nothing wrong with the power supply, because my old tester actually broke because I stood on it, because that's what I do, you know, I'm an idiot, I just leave things lying around and then I stand on them. So yeah, I might have to order another one of them, but I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult to find what the major issue is. Plus, I mean, it's only my boot drive, if anything, that's giving me trouble. So, worst case scenario, I just have to run out and buy a new SSD to reinstall Windows on. It's like, pretty much, well, all my video stuff and that is saved on a separate SSD. And then my programs, well, they're all installed on the boot drive. Well, most of them are installed on the boot drive. But again, I mean, that won't take too long to reinstall. So, that is essentially just like a worst case scenario thing. But yeah, so in the end, I got everything up and running. I made sure to actually check that my microphone was turned on for the recording. Like, I absolutely made sure to check that, especially after what happened yesterday. Here's the thing, though. For some reason, and I have no idea why, there seems to be an extra USB mic being detected by my PC. Not sure what that is, but yesterday I did get a USB port delivered from Amazon, mainly due to the fact I don't have enough USB slots for everything on my current setup, so I had to get like a USB hub, and I've got my mic plugged into that now because I ended up also getting like a Rode mic boom arm, but with where I've put the boom arm, the cable won't actually connect to my PC, so I've had to put that in the extender. And I think that has caused some major screw up with NVIDIA Shadowplay, because that's actually what I use for PC recordings. I use Shadowplay. I did used to use OBS, but after just so many constant crashes and losing recordings and things like that, in the end I just said, you know what, to hell with OBS. It might make things easier for me, but there's way too many issues involved there. So in the end I swapped over to Shadowplay. And I don't know why, but Shadowplay basically changed what the mic input was. So rather than actually using my mic, it's just using some like generic USB 2 mic for some reason. I have no idea what that is or where it's from. I've gone through and I've unplugged everything and it's still showing up. So yeah, not a clue, not a clue. Although, well, I say I've unplugged everything and it doesn't show up. I've unplugged everything completely, like absolutely everything, and it does disappear. But as soon as I start plugging in everything again, it just comes back, and it doesn't seem to be a specific thing that's causing it to come back either. So it's like, for example, if I plug in the mouse, it could come back. If I unplug it, then it could disappear. Or I could unplug 5 different things, including the mouse, and it still might not appear. So yeah, I have no idea what's causing that. But in the end, after I loaded the video up in Sony Vegas to actually render it, I noticed the mic was just a completely flat dead line, which, yeah, that led me on a goose chase then to try and find out what it was, and that's when I found out that Shadowplay was screwing me over. Even after I checked to make sure the mic was working, you know, it's like I made sure the mic was on, it was connected, you know, it was actually being recorded. The one thing I did not check, the one thing I never even thought of checking, was if Shadowplay was actually using that microphone instead of something else. Like, I never would have thought to check that, absolutely ever, because it's always only been that one mic, and it's always defaulted to my mic as well. So I'm probably gonna like go around with Windows settings later to see if there's anything changed on my default audio settings there that maybe could have changed it around a little, but I'm kind of doubting it, since, I mean, I've just opened up Audacity, and obviously right now I'm recording this commentary on it. That's loaded up the microphone perfectly fine on its own. So I have no idea why Shadowplay just decided to revert to it, basically. So yeah, so it's basically lovely PC troubles which have been plaguing me all day, and then Shadowplay screwed me as well. Although I have to admit though, like, the PC issues are kind of, well, I mean, it's definitely a bad thing, but at the same time, like, I've been really wanting to upgrade my rig again. Obviously, you guys know a lot of what I'm running because it's all in the description, but I'm running a 2700X, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 2080 Ti, basically. But I really want to upgrade because, well, because of a few reasons, actually. So, obviously I render in Sony Vegas, but I really want to learn to use Premiere Pro, just because Sony Vegas, it doesn't take advantage of all my processor cores, and it also doesn't take advantage of my GPU. Now, I've done a whole bunch of troubleshooting and things like that. I've managed to get Vegas using about 10% of my GPU, and about 50% of my processor. You know, I mean, it's using all the cores, all 8 cores, but it's only pushing them to about 30% each on the render. So obviously the render times are going much slower than they actually should be. So that's sort of why I've been looking at thinking about getting an upgrade. Obviously, like, to learn Premiere Pro, you know, like, Premiere Pro eats up RAM like there is no tomorrow. It is so RAM hungry. So even though 32 gig might sound like a lot, for Premiere Pro it really isn't. Like, when I actually load up a file in that and I start trying to practice in Premiere, it's like 20, 25 gig, boom, gone, just like that. That is how much RAM it eats up. So I think when I do upgrade, I'll probably move along to like 64 gig and maybe upgrade to a 3950X. You know, I mean, those 16 cores are looking sexy, man. Those 16 cores are looking real sexy. But other than that, I really want to upgrade my PC case as well. Because at the moment, I'm using the Be Quiet 900D. And I got that for a couple of reasons. The first one being that it's a big case. So, you know, I can easily expand in it and things like that. It's modular. There's definitely a lot of room for water cooling for when I eventually go down that route. But one of the big selling points for me as well was the noise insulation. So if you don't know, like, there's a load of insulation on the case itself, which obviously stops all the fan noise and things coming through. The only downside is that stuff actually completely kills all the airflow for the case. Like, just the front panel alone, like just having that front panel door open, pretty much gives me a temperature difference of nearly 15 degrees, and that is insane. Like, that is just absolutely, like, it is bonkers, man. It is bonkers. But in the end, I've been looking at the AI Crystal, like the AI Crystal Pro, I think it was called. You know what, let me just let me load this up. The Anodus AI Crystal XL RGB. I've been looking at that because I really want a big case so I can fully, like, build in it and customize it and things like that. And I mean, looking at it, it's less modular, but that's a good thing, because this case is a goddamn nightmare. Like, it is a serious nightmare, guys. It is troublesome. It's like, because it's so modular and that, like, it's a nightmare to take apart and that. But not only that, the motherboard tray moves. And originally I thought, okay, you can turn the motherboard tray. That's all I originally thought. Nope. You can actually lower it and raise it. And I did not know that when I was building this system. So right now, my motherboard tray is sitting at the very top. So with the motherboard in it, I can't actually fit a fan on the radiator that's on my AIO. So rather than having a push-pull config, I've had to actually go and do just a pull config on it, because the fan is actually on top of the rad rather than, like, between the radiator and the motherboard, just because I don't have the room. But to lower it, that's going to be a major pain. So I'm thinking about just changing the case out for, you know, something a little more easy, something a little more better to work in, and, you know, just easily change things out when I want to. But we are coming up to the end of this video, guys. I know it's been a little ranty, but I think I'm probably going to change. I think I'm probably going to talk more about PCs in the next video. And sorry about that noise. I just knocked the mic. This new boom is going to take some time to get used to. But thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. As always, though, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.